So this is Edelweiss, and this is where, again, this is where publishers post their catalogs, generally seasonal frontlist catalogs. There's a lot of backlist in here as well. But the main aim here really is to post those frontlist catalogs. And again, so it's a great way for you to find upcoming titles and to help you budget, and also realistically speaking, getting those pre-orders from the publisher standpoint is awesome, because then have a better idea of how many titles to print, and they have suggested print runs, and their print run is always in air quotes, but then they can have a little more realistic idea of how many titles they should actually print, or how many copies of each title they should print. So that's kind of the whole ecosystem kind of works together. Edelweiss does a lot of stuff. We are going to concentrate really today just on the buying stuff, so catalogs and orders. I did want to just show you a couple of things in here as far as navigation goes. So you'll see a number of different links up here at the top, event grids and reviews and buzz and all that kind of stuff. Really what we're going to focus on today is orders and catalogs and the publishers. So the first couple there. The Edelweiss homepage itself is really customizable. So I kind of pared mine down. I usually have a lot of stuff going on here, but you can easily add widgets. So each of these are a widget that's going to have its own little purpose, and you can apply filters to them and that sort of stuff. If you click on add widget, you'll see a number of different things that you can do, including orders. You can add a widget for your active orders. You can add for save filters and people and all that kind of stuff. So lots of different things that you can do in there. Really what we're going to concentrate on here is getting to a catalog. So if you are working with sales reps, then they're going to share markups with you. And what that means is that they're going to take their basic core catalog and add their personal notes to it. And usually they're great. Sometimes, just like with anything, some reps are better than others. I am going to be showing you a markup from Meg Sherman today, who's a WW Norton rep, and she is awesome. Like some of the best markups I've seen. So I'm going to exploit that a little bit today. But basically, it allows them to add things to the catalog that they may not want in a more public-facing sort of situation, like print run. So print run is kind of a proprietary piece of information. If they're going to print 50,000 of a title, that's them placing themselves strategically in the marketplace for that particular title, and they don't necessarily want other publishers to see that so much. So they will add that sort of thing to your markup note. And also just kind of like insider stuff, like, this is going to be the Oprah pick, which there was a new one picked today. That kind of stuff is usually pretty important to know. So with that in mind, if you do get a shared markup from your sales rep, you'll get a notification here. You also get an email, which will provide a link and that sort of stuff. But you can also, you'll see that notification here. So you can click right into the catalog from here. You can also see any catalogs that you've recently viewed. And I use this all the time. Just whatever I've been working on is usually right here. And again, you can just click into the link. Also, if you know you're going to be working with Norton, for example, you can come in here and click into publishers, and you just search for that publisher. Let me give myself a little refresh here. Sorry, my internet may be not playing nice right now. All right, so you can search for catalogs, you can search for publishers, and again, doing the shared markup thing is always a nice, easy way to do it. Here you can look at recently viewed publishers. If you haven't looked at Norton recently and you're looking for their catalogs, you can just start typing the name of the publisher and come and click here. So then we're going to go right to the Norton catalog page. So each publisher can set up their catalog pages kind of however they like. So you're going to see if you do have any shared markups, those are going to be an option right here. You can also look at all their catalogs and see they each are going to have different folders and different ways that they are going to organize their catalogs. Oftentimes, we're looking at the featured catalogs because that's what they're usually what they're selling from right now. You can also look at previous seasons and that sort of stuff. I always like to kind of scroll through here. You can do a type here to find those titles, those catalogs that you might be looking for summer 2018, for example, and you just type in summer, and that'll usually pop up here. But you can scroll through and see kind of what's on offer here. It's the winter, or I'm sorry, the Norton and Affiliates Summer 2018 combined. That's usually what you're looking for. We're going to be looking at the summer catalogs right now. So you may notice in some publishers, I know Random House does this, they'll have a for booksellers link in there, and you'll be able to see the catalogs that are just for booksellers, basically, and they'll have one just for librarians and that sort of thing as well. All right, so that said, I'm going to go ahead and click on the shared markup link here. I do want to point out something. We're going to hop back and forth here real quick. There's also this work list widget here. So a work list is essentially a place for you to store all the catalogs that you're working on right now. So you can click into a catalog, add it to your work list, and then you just kind of always have a nice list of whatever sort of stuff you have on your docket. And then you can, once you're finished, you can remove stuff from your work list really easily. But when you click into a catalog, which I will do, so you'll see a little link here to add to work list. If you click on that, you click on the star, and we'll go back to the home page here. And you'll see that catalog is now on your work list. And like, for example, this Choose Your Own Adventure catalog, I'll click into that. If you're finished with this, you've already done the order, done all the work that you're going to do with it, you just click the star again to remove it from your work list. So kind of a constant slate of work for yourself that you can pay attention to there. So I'm going to click back into that Norton catalog. All right. So kind of going to give you a tour of the catalog itself and stuff to look for and the kinds of things that you're going to be able to see. First thing, we'll just look at this War and Peace title here, kind of simplified. So obviously the cover image, if you click on that, you can blow it up. If you want a clearer view of that. You're going to see all that kind of the basic bibliographic information here. Page counts, discount codes, covers, pricing, the BISAC category. So publishers use the book industry standards and classifications, BISAC, to classify their titles. And so real basic information there. If you want to see the content, you can click this guy here, and it's going to show you the summary, and then you can click to expand the contributor bio, links, etc. If you'd rather not do that for each title, which I wouldn't blame you, you can click on the the click plus there, and it'll expand all that content. Or most likely what you're going to do, and this is how most people do it, is to go into other actions and click on content. And that's going to show and hide content for all the titles in the catalog here. So essentially what you're doing when you're going through a catalog, rather than paging through a paper catalog, you're scrolling through. So again, all the publisher content here is provided by the publisher. So they're going to have, the contributor bio, any marketing plan. So this is kind of a unique thing that you won't really see anywhere else, because again, this is where publishers are selling their titles. You'll be able to see the sorts of things that the publishers are thinking. Sometimes you might be thinking, what are they thinking? But that's just kind of part of the game. If you do want to, if you can click on Control Plus, you can increase your browser view a little bit. Also, you can click on the eyeglasses here and get a blown up view of that content if you need to. One thing you'll see in here as well is the ability to sort the catalog. So it's going to automatically be sorted by catalog sequence. So the first title that the publisher wants to show you is going to be number 1, and second title, and on down. You can inverse that by clicking this little triangle guy here. You can also sort by title or by pub date, that kind of stuff, if you like. There's also a lot of different filters that you can use in here. So this is a markup from Meg, and she has chosen to feature this particular title, so War on Peace. So this title would not be featured in the normal public-facing catalog, but Meg, as the sales rep, has chosen to feature this in her markup. So she's saying, pay attention to this one, it's going to be big, bigger at least. And so that's a priority setting that the sales rep has set, and you can actually sort or filter your catalog according to those different priorities. So if you just want to see the featured titles, you can do that. And you click it, and then the filters are set. So you're only going to see the titles that Meg has featured in this catalog. So that can be kind of a nice way to do it. Actually, you get the bigger titles out of the way up front, and you can then switch to just the highlighted titles, and highlighted are just a slight level down in the excitement level, basically. You'll see the cover image is going to be a little bit smaller and that sort of stuff. And I'm going to clear this out, but you're also going to be able to see markup tags, whether or not there are review copies available, and that's publishers offer digital review copies in their catalogs. And that's essentially just kind of a way for them to offer you titles as you're going through. So you're buying a title, you can see that, oh, look, I can download this one right now. So you download it, read a couple pages, say that was kind of awesome, I'm going to up my buy a little bit. Like, clearly that's why they're going to be doing that. They really like to get that pre-publication buzz sort of thing happening as well. So. But you can also sort by category, and again, that's going to be the BISAC category, formats, price ranges, etc. So lots of different ways to filter a catalog if you want to. That can be a really nice thing. Just like, I just want to see all the fiction stuff right now. And then so you can just have your fiction hat on while you're going through a catalog. I just did putting on a hat motion, which you guys couldn't see. I realize I talk with my hands a lot when I'm doing these. So again, lots of different ways to view the catalog, lots of different ways to sort things, ways to either show information or not automatically, that sort of stuff. So it's really kind of up to how you like to buy. Usually when it was me buying, I would go and I'd have everything showing. All the content, all the comparable titles, everything showing, until I got to that one section of the catalog that I was maybe not as excited about. And then from when I got to that point, you'll see that this line up here follows you down the catalog, so you can actually kind of on the fly go in and hide content. And so then you can scroll through a little bit quicker. And then obviously we're not just scrolling through, we're also wanting to decide what titles to buy and add quantities and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what we're going to be doing here in just 1 second. And I do want to point out a couple things with this particular markup here. This is a great thing. Oh, this is kind of where Meg excels with the markups. Is, you know, she'll have the print run, and that's always put in the same spot in all of her print and her markups. You can also see that in this case there's some co-op, meaning they're going to give you a higher discount if you buy in a little bit of bulk. We're not talking much, 3 or 5 copies, and you get a little bit of an extra bump. You also see stuff like newsletter co-op, that sort of stuff. So essentially ways that publishers entice you to buy a little bit more of a particular book that they're excited about and think will do well if given better placement and that sort of stuff. But right away you see that she's added some pretty crucial information here. Like, this guy won the Pulitzer Prize. That's good to know. A little bit about the book itself, and then Meg comments that she really loved the book itself. You can see a little bit about this guy, where he lives, where he's from, and then the editor and publicist, which actually, once you start buying a lot, you start recognizing editors' names and like, oh, I like this guy's work. Like his taste in titles is pretty great. And that can be a really helpful thing. You'll also see Meg has added some tags. So a tag is basically a keyword that she is able to attach to a title. And so, you know, this is MPIBA regional interest. So that's the Mountains and Plains Independent Booksellers Association. So if you're in Mountains and Plains as a bookstore, you see that this title is of relevance to your store, most likely. That's fact, Mountains and Plains, it's about cowboys, that makes sense. So lots of information there, and that's even without the publisher copy. So you can get a little bit more about the title, about the author, get a picture of the guy. Seems like a nice fella. Marketing plans, etc. So I know a lot of buyers will actually go through a catalog and never once open the content because their sales reps markups are so good. So that can be a super helpful thing. So that's kind of the catalog and different ways to view it and whatnot. So now we're actually going to go ahead and create an order. Usually whenever you come in and look at a catalog, you're going to see that the selected order down at the bottom is going to show all orders combined. And so that's just going to be all orders that may or may not have anything to do with this particular catalog. So it's basically just a placeholder. If I wanted to add quantities, right now it wouldn't let me. You can see there's a little no thank you symbol that pops up there, and that means you haven't yet selected an order for this particular catalog. Now, if you're not seeing the ability to create orders, you want to come in up here. If you go and click on your name up at the top of any screen, you'll be able to see your privileges. That's me. If you don't see buying here as a privilege, then your account hasn't been set up with buying privileges. So, you know, as a bookstore, oftentimes what will happen is that, you know, you have a buyer and maybe a marketing person or something like that, or maybe that's the same person, and that's fine too. But you may have frontline staff who you want to be on Edelweiss as well because you want them to know what books are coming out, and you can make it so that they don't have buying privileges, so that they can go in, see the catalogs and all that kind of stuff, but they can't change your orders, which is not a bad way to go. If you are a user administrator, you can come in here and click on the buying privilege to give that to yourself. If you don't have either of those, then just contact us, support@abovethetreeline.com. That is a case of basically how you registered, and we can fix that really quickly. So if you don't have buying privileges, let us know and we can help. That being said, sometimes this might be closed down. So sometimes people want to go through a catalog without having the buying stuff in the way there, so they can just kind of scroll through. So you can open and close the buying tools here, just clicking on the little shopping cart. So to create an order, there's one of two ways. You can come in and click the plus where it says create new order, like so. Or you can come in, if you've already created an order and you just want to continue using that order. I have a lot of test orders in here just because this is my account here. If I have a Joe PDF order that I'm working on, for example, or this new directions order, you can go ahead and add, select that, and you can continue using an order that you've already created. But really what we're going to do here is come in and create a new order. And this is where you're going to want to pay a little bit of attention if you haven't been yet. Whenever you're creating an order, you're essentially creating a folder for the information to live. So this is really going to be like a purchase order. A few things to keep in mind. The first one is the order name. And the reason I say that this is the first thing to pay attention to mostly is because it can be a point of confusion for folks. So sometimes I'll see people come in and they've named their order summer, and then if you're doing orders for 20 publishers and they're all named summer, that can get a little bit confusing. Or if you just name it Norton, like next year, next season, you're like, do I use that order, or what was that for? Or I don't know. So what I always suggest is name an order with the publisher, the season, and the year. Really simple. If you have a code that you use on your end in your point of sale system or whatever, that's great. Use that. Just as long as when you look at this order, you're going to know what it's for, and there's not going to be any confusion there. Just make it easier on yourself. And then with the PO number, if you don't have one of those yet, that's fine. You can always add that in later. Discount, same sort of thing. Add 75 because this publisher is very nice. Haha. So if you know that your discount with this particular publisher, you can add that in here. And one thing also that you can do here is to go ahead and share this with your sales rep right now as you're creating the order. So to work with your rep, you either need to share this order with the rep now or do it later when you're done. Totally up to you. The rep's not really going to be submitting an unfinished order because they frankly want you to buy more. So they're not going to really submit the order until you tell them that they can. But basically, this just allows you to do this now and not forget to do it later on. But to do it, you just click in the little yellow circle there. And I know these are all alphabetical. These are your sales reps who are connected to you. And they're alphabetical by publisher. So WW Norton is under the W's. And so I know that Meg is my sales rep, so I can click on her. And this is now shared with her. So she's going to see that I have an order in progress. You can also search for a rep. So if you don't really want to scroll through all your reps, you can just start typing somebody's name here. But this is shared with her now. So this is something that you don't have to worry about later on at this point. You can see reps shared with is 1 now. So you can write a comment on here. Usually the comments, for the most part, are kind of reserved for you and your staff. That's the easiest way. If you do write a comment in here, your rep will see it, so keep that in mind. Don't say, I hate working with this person, because they may get an abject lesson there. You can also add in a vendor code that you can use in an export of this. Basically, all this stuff right here, you can kind of leave. You can not worry about it at this point. And another thing in here with the refine order visibility. So basically, because you're using the same tool to order from a bunch of different publishers, you can bind an order to a specific publisher. So because we're in a Norton catalog, when we created this order, it's automatically bound to Norton. All that means is that I'm not going to be able to open up a HarperCollins catalog and see this order as an option, which is awesome because you're not going to accidentally click on a thing and add a bunch of Norton titles to a HarperCollins order and that sort of thing. So basically you can leave this as is. And I always like to go ahead and just leave this at all. So if you really wanted to, you could bind this order to this specific catalog, meaning that you're not going to see this order available in a Norton drop-in catalog or their backlist catalog or any other catalog, is just this particular one. So you can do that if you like. Sometimes that leads to confusion because there are drop-in catalogs or backlist catalogs and that sort of thing. So I always like to recommend just have the vendor set as is. You can go ahead and change that if you like. So I'm scrolling through, see there's a lot of publishers in here. This is automatically selected for Norton. So have the vendor selected and select all for the catalog or collection, and you're good to go. So you'll be able to use this order in any Norton catalog. The reason there are so many options there really is that everybody does it different. Like out of all the people on the call right now, each of you is going to do it just a little bit different, and it's going to have different ways that they like to do it. So that's why. So now we can see that the order that I just created, Norton Summer 2018, is the selected order. So you just want to pay attention to that when you pop into a catalog and make sure that the selected order is the correct one. And then to start doing your orders, I'm going to scroll up to the top here. So War on Peace is the first one here. This is a store that has 2 locations. So one on Washington Avenue, one on Ashley Street. And because this is my store, I know which is which, and your sales reps will know as well. But all you do is add the quantities that you want to each location here. And you can see I have 5 here and 3 in the other store, and there's a total of 8 there. So just kind of a running tally underneath when you have the multiple stores going on. So you can come in, say I want 5 of this one, 12 at this store. Really, you're going to know, hopefully if you've been buying for a little while, you're going to know how many copies to add to each store. Your sales reps are great here. One of the nice things about this is that you can add these quantities, you can do all this sort of stuff before you ever meet with the sales rep. And then, before you guys meet, the sales rep will come in and look, and they'll see here, like, you only got 5 of the new Chuck Palahniuk. Like, maybe, I think that's not enough. So basically, whenever you come in and actually speak to your sales rep for your sales appointment, they're gonna come back with like 5 titles to really talk about, instead of talking about all 326 titles in the catalog. And it really, really speeds up the buying process, or at least the buying meeting and the sales rep meeting. So then you guys can spend more time talking business instead of basically you using your sales rep as a stenographer, which often used to be the case, but isn't really so much anymore. So that's the desired quantity for this title. You can also add your store's category code to this particular title as well. So this is a political science, American government title here. You can click on add category. You probably have a poli-sci category code at your store. If not, whatever you use, wherever you would put this in your store. And so then this category code is going to be applied to this title in your order. And one of the nice things about doing these orders in Edelweiss is you can actually take this order, and this is where we'll show you a little bit later on, you can take this order and export it to your point of sale system. So like if you use Booklog, for example, you can click download, and the order is going to go basically right into Booklog. And then you don't have to hand enter the whole thing. So saves hours and hours of using 10 key on your keyboard. I used to have to do that for my orders, and it made me order less, which might have been a good thing, but it's just a lot of work. But then really, we have some quantities selected here. Now it's just essentially rinse and repeat. You continue on down the line. If you decide you don't want this title, you don't think it's going to sell in your store, just skip past it. Some stores put in a 0 here, which you can do. I actually did that a lot, just so I knew that I had looked at a particular title. But most stores just leave that as 0, or I'm not as 0, as blank if they don't want it. And also, so we're looking through here. Publishers have the opportunity to add backlist in here as kind of like featured titles. And so, this Rise and Fall of Adam here, you can click on that title and pull up a little bit of information about it, all that publisher generated info, and you can click into orders and simply add this to your order. So if I want to copy that in my store, then that's going to be added to your order. You're not going to see it here because here we're looking at the catalog, but on the order end, you're going to see this title added in. You can do that with comparable titles as well, which I haven't talked about yet. So publishers do add comparable titles to each title. Oftentimes you'll see really great, like obviously these are pretty obvious, Stephen Greenblatt, this is a Stephen Greenblatt title, so you do want to see those. If you are an analytics customer, so basically with our analytics tools, we have a bunch of different tools that you can use to measure your inventory and performance and see what you're missing and all that kind of stuff. But one of the features of that is that you would see, if this was a Treeline Analytics account, you would see your sales and inventory history for each of these titles in here too, which really speeds up the process, because essentially if you're a conscientious buyer, you're going to go look this stuff up anyways. You want to see how you sell Stephen Greenblatt before you decide whether or not to bring it in. So that's, if you don't have the analytics stuff and that's not in here, then you're copying and pasting ISBNs over into your point of sale system to see that info. So that can really speed things up, but either way, you can see those titles, and the publishers do make it easy by hopefully adding relevant comp titles in here. That being said too, you can also order these very easily if you like. So if I like this Mary Beard, I don't have it on hand, I can come in, click on orders and add it in here as well. And then continue. So that's really the process. I mean, it's obviously compounded by 326 titles in here, and it just takes a little bit of time to do each of those. But really, you're just scrolling through and looking for those titles to add. And go back up to the top. I do want to point out you can hop back up to the top of any page just by clicking this little arrow here. So now I've worked on an order. Generally speaking, when you are going to go through a catalog with your sales rep, you usually want to come in here and look at the catalog. If you click into orders, you're going to see all your orders listed. This is the one that we're looking at. If I click on the title here, the name of the order, this is going to show me just the titles that I've ordered, which is 4 titles. So to go through this with your sales rep can be a little frustrating, because if you skipped over something that they want to talk to you about, that it's not going to be in here, because this is essentially just a visual purchase order. So it's really just a list of the titles that you've actually placed on the orders. So to go through with your sales rep, you really do want to click back into that catalog. And again, that can be done in your recently viewed or your work list or whatever makes the most sense to you. So in your orders list here, hopefully there's not a ton of active orders to scroll through. You might have 10 or 12 at a time that are open usually. But we're going to talk about marking orders completed here in a little bit. It's kind of a soapbox of mine. But you can sort this list So you can sort it by last updated. So whatever you worked on the last is going to be right up at the top. You can also sort it by name or by appointment date. So whenever we created that order, that appointment date was an option in here. Some people use this, some don't. But again, you can sort this according to appointment date, which can be a really handy way to do it. You can also, from here, at this point, share your order with your rep if you didn't do it earlier, or if you want to add sales reps or even coworkers. So I'm above the tree line here. I can add any of the people that I work with into the list here. So if I want to share it with MC Hammer, who's a great coworker, by the way, you can do that. Within that list as well. So this order is now visible to Meg Sherman and MC Hammer. I'm going to remove that, actually. It's distracting. You can right now email Meg from here to let her know that you're ready for her to look at it, or just say, hey, this order's totally completed. I'm ready for you to just take it. To do that, you simply click in the box there and click on Email Checked Shares. And then from here, you can say, order completed. You don't really need to send a in progress, no action required email. That's just kind of spammy, but some people do it. But you say order completed, and then just give Meg a little message. Say, all done here. Good to see you because you guys spoke, etc. If you have a message, you're like, or I would love a copy of that Stephen Greenblatt title. You can add whatever message you like here. And if you click save, that's going to actually send the email. I'm not going to do that right now because Meg might get a little confused by that. But save equals send. So within this order, again, if you click on the name of the order, you're going to get that kind of visual purchase order sort of thing. And oftentimes what stores will do is, they'll add all their quantities as they're going through the catalog, and then they'll come in right here and add their store categories, just so it's a little less overwhelming. And you have your buying hat on, and then you have your where am I going to put this hat on. And again, really easy to just add that stuff in here. You can see this is that comparable title that I added to the order, so that was added in here as well, and the Mary Beard title too. I'm going to go back to that orders page. So while you're doing this, if you didn't yet have a purchase order number, a PO number, or if you wanted to add more information in here, you can do that here and click save. You can add comments in here. All done, ready to export to Booklog. There you go. So you can see any notes that you add in there will be added there. So you can also click on the share here, which again opens up that share screen to share with your sales rep. So you can either share from here or by clicking on the little yellow shares button there. Then there's the export preview. So this is where you're going to go in and look at the order in an exportable format. So if Booklog is your point of sale system, for example, I'm just using them as an example, you want to make sure that the export format is set to Booklog. It'll be whatever you set it. There is a default point of sale setting that you can do. So if you come up to your tools up here, you can click on point of sale and then select your point of sale system from the list here. If you don't see yours listed here, you may struggle a little bit to export your order, but we can help you with that too. There's ways to create custom exports and that sort of thing. Just get in touch with us again at support@abovethetreeline.com and we can try to help you there. Chances are though you're using Square One or WordStock or Booklog and Anthology, etc. But again, that export preview is here. So this is really exactly what you're going to be exporting from a device into your point of sale system. So you'll see store categories here. If you forgot to add one, this is just going to be blank there. You can see we do have multiple locations here. So right now we're looking at all locations. So each title at each store. You can say, I just want to see the Washington Avenue store here, for example, and export that, and then export them one at a time. You can change purchase order numbers according to location here. If you need to edit a title, you can come in here and click on that little edit icon. And you can edit lots of different things. If you want to add in a secondary store category, for example, you can do that here. If you want to give a more realistic discount code, you can do that there. Just that sort of stuff. So whatever sorts of things you like to do. Generally speaking, people like what happens here. To get this into your system, you simply click download. And then this particular case, you're going to see it's going to create a new document. Let's see. So that creates a text document. Now, whenever I did the export, it says, now would you like to mark this order as completed? In this case, I'm going to say no. Usually, generally speaking, I would recommend you say yes, and just go ahead and you're done with it now, and you don't need to see it anymore. But I'm going to say no because I want to dive into that a little bit more. But from Booklog, for example, there's going to be a way to go in on their system and say, import an order, whatever the command is over there, and then you're going to just want to go and grab this order, and you'll import it there, and then you're done until it's time to receive those books. All right, so then from here, so I've done this order, I've exported it into Booklog, we're all done. So now I'm just going to mark it completed. And what that does is it takes it out of your active order list and puts it over in the completed, which is over here. So it doesn't delete the order, it just removes it from your active list. And what that means, so I've marked that completed. So now if I go back into that Norton catalog, if I go to see my selected orders, that Norton order summer, the Norton summer 2018 is not listed in there because it's done, it's completed. So basically what that means is I'm not going to be able to add new titles to an old order. That's a good thing. I've been telling the story a lot lately because it's pretty indicative of why to do this. There was a store that was constantly adding new titles to older orders. I mean, an order from 2010 even, because they didn't name their orders very well, and they had like 500 open orders. It was crazy just because they had never marked anything completed. So they're constantly just making a huge mess of their orders. I finally went in and marked all those older orders complete for them. Old orders is something that's difficult to say very quickly, by the way. But I just went and marked all those completed just because I couldn't take it anymore, and I haven't heard from them in 6 months. Basically cleaned up their mess. And what that means is really, if you have a cleaner workspace, you're just going to make fewer mistakes and that sort of stuff. So blah, 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 mark your orders completed when you're done. So that's really the kind of the protocol. You go and you find a catalog that you want to do your order in, whether it's a markup that you receive from a publisher or just you want to buy the new Candlewick catalog, for example. And then you go through it and you mark things that you want to buy. You create the order and all that kind of stuff. So nice and easy. Really, I think the hardest part is simply just knowing where to click and knowing what does what. There was a question about series, and generally speaking, whenever you're looking at a series for a title like Harry Potter or something, the publisher is going to list that in the comparable titles. And so if you want to buy, book one of a series, it's going to be listed here, and you simply click into that, click orders, that sort of thing. It's nice and easy. I do want to point out there's plenty of help available. The chances of you remembering everything we talked about today is minimal. But if you click on help and then click on get help, which always kind of cracks me up, you're going to see the help documents kind of separated according to what type of user you are. So just click into booksellers. And then if we're talking about ordering, you just click into the ordering stuff. And here you're going to see specific instructions for importing these orders into your specific point of sale system. You can see they're showing 5 here, but there's 10 total articles there. But then there's just a lot of different things, and how to edit your orders and categories and all that kind of fun stuff. And again, if you do have questions, we're always available at support@abovethetreeline.com, and we have operators standing by, basically. We have a whole support team ready to help you out if you have any questions. Yeah, that's what we have for you today. Hopefully that was helpful. And if there were questions that we weren't able to get to, then we will try to get to you in email form rather than here. But thanks again for joining us, guys, and happy buying. Thanks.